It's the midweek, and just like that, we're back. Houston Section 400. Brian, Jack, and Matt bringing you along for some Houston Section 400. I can't wait to get into this one. Brian's already smiling, so that's how you know it's at least going to be a positive show.
I've never heard someone be so excited about a Wednesday.
Halfway through the week, man. It's the second half.
There we go.
This is where losses turn to wins and wins turn to losses. No, not the witching hour. It's the second half of the week. We have a bunch of headlines to get into, some MLB, some NFL, even though it's the offseason. We have a lot of stuff to get into, so hang tight. Winners and losers of the week, as always, the staple segment, the premier segment on Views from Section 400. And we tally it all off. We wrap it up with an AL East preview. We're going to go 6 divisions in 3 weeks. Our guy Nick is writing, blogging, doing everything he can on viewsfromsection400.com. Make sure you check out his MLB Division previews. We'll get into that at the end of the show. But we have some headlines to get into. As always, so we kick off the midweek show. We'll get into all the action in just a second here after a quick word from SeatGeek.
The calendar is flipped to 2025. And that means one thing: the sports action is heating up, and the best place to go to get tickets to playoff football, meaningful basketball games, and maybe some baseball soon is SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Views from Section 400 podcast. Whether you're going to watch some Auburn Tigers play at Neville Arena, best team in college basketball, if you want to see the Birds probably choke in the playoffs at the Link, or maybe you want to buy some early spring training tickets for the spring, SeatGeek is the best place to go. Their one-of-a-kind platform makes finding the best deals easy. Use our code VIEWSFROM400 at checkout for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's code VIEWSFROM400 at checkout. You get $20 off your first purchase. That's a free beer and maybe some crab fries, maybe a hot dog on us. It's a great deal. Use our code. SeatGeek, your best night ever is waiting.
Thanks to SeatGeek. As always, we'll jump into the midweek headlines here. And the team up in Boston, no, not the Patriots, the Red Sox have had a saga of their own. Not intentionally. It was the Alex Bregman sweepstakes, but they get tailed in because he accepted their offer of 3 years, $120 million. There was actually, I think, 4 other teams on the table. The Tigers offered him. The Astros offered to re-sign. And I think the Cubs had a deal on the table as well. This gets, there's some more money out there spread out over more years. So he went with give me the most money in the quickest amount of time. $40 million a year is what that comes out to be. We had some comments from, some players on the team about the third base saga in itself. But I guess we can rate the signing here. Jack, Brian, what do you guys think? I didn't expect him to go to the Red Sox. I didn't necessarily think he'd go back to the Astros, but the Red Sox weren't on my radar.
Yeah, I liked the signing until this whole saga started with Rafael Devers saying third base is my position, and then Tristan Casas saying Rafael Devers is our third baseman, and the prospects aren't going to see the majors this year. Alex Bregman helps you at third base. Rafael Devers is a bad third baseman. He's a great hitter. He's a bad third baseman. Yeah, I think it might be more Devers, just maybe the questioning has been lost in translation because his English isn't that great. And it's just coming off very blunt because that's kind of just how he's talking. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like a great start.
Yeah, well, I've never really been a fan of Bregman. I mean, he was part of the Astros team that got caught cheating. So kind of puts an asterisk next to his name, if you ask me. But I am sort of a fan of the Red Sox, and they have been making moves this offseason, getting some new players here and there. So it looks like they're trying to load up. I mean, they have to if they want to compete with the Yankees and the Orioles. It's a very competitive division. And, as far as this goes for them, I think it's a great signing for Bregman. I think, regardless of how this turns out, I think he was saying the right things. I'll play anywhere. It doesn't really matter to me. He's getting his money. As you said earlier, Brian, like he got what he wanted. And, I think this is the best case. It seems like it's going to work out for everyone. Maybe Rafael Devers needs to, just chill a little bit. I think he's going to be A-okay. He's still, I think, one of the best hitters in baseball.
Well, the guy who needs to chill is the Casas guy, because why is he opening his mouth and talking about this? The only kind of reasoning justification I would think of why he said that is because he doesn't want Devers to go over there and play first base.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Because even like, I'm happy Jackie brought up the fact Bregman said he'll play anywhere because he's being chill about it. He's like, you want me to play second? Want me to play left? Whatever. I think, Matt, you're onto something. Casas is like, yeah, I don't want him to take my job. But Devers could also
Exactly.
DH. And I did find how bad he's been. So since he
It's
entered the
it's
league,
like worse in the league. You don't even need the stats. It's literally worse in the league.
yep, no, it's
Devers?
103rd out of 103rd in
Yeah.
third baseman with negative 62 defensive runs saved since he's
It's
entered the
not
league.
good. It's a lot of
Dude,
runs.
third base is a tough position to play. Like, you want someone there that can make plays. I mean, that's 101 out of 101. That guy does not stick around for the next season. You don't trot that guy back out there. That's simple as that.
It's the
Yeah.
hot corner.
The hot
That's
corner.
why I call it the hot corner. I mean, it's probably the position other than shortstop, obviously, but like the most important defensive position, right? Shortstop, third base, and then what would you say? Center field?
I would say center, maybe catcher, maybe at first, then center field, and then third, then short. In my opinion, at least
Yeah,
Yeah, Brian.
that's from my experience as a ball player. I don't know if it's the same in the MLB,
I think
but
I'd go short, center, and then catcher and third are very close. Because catcher, you kind of got away with it up
I think you're
until
undervaluing the hot corner, Brian.
I wouldn't say I'm undervaluing it. I
people just
think,
don't bunt anymore. That's also the thing. Like nobody bunts anymore. So
yeah,
like third basemen are always playing back.
I feel like in
It's a little less hot
general,
now.
maybe not deep. Well, I mean, balls still get smoked at the third baseman. That's
No
what
doubt.
happens.
No doubt.
But I think GMs and teams just don't maybe care about defense as a whole anymore. It's hey, what can this guy do with the bat?
yeah, and also like going back to shortstop meaning so much, you can kind of get away with a not so great third baseman if you have an elite shortstop. I mean, Mark Vientos isn't a very good defensive third baseman, but Francisco Lindor is just unreal at shortstop. So you can get away with Vientos, who has improved his defense, but he's probably below average. Red Sox with Trevor Story, and I guess we were talking about him in the last podcast. He's still young-ish, but he's always injured. I don't know if Trevor Story can cancel out Rafael Devers over there.
No, and I think the ideal situation where all parties are happy, Cassis keeps his job, Devers still plays the field, and Bregman's still on the field. Maybe not utilizing his great defense as much, but you throw Bregman at second, Cassis stays at first, Story tries to hold down the shortstop, and you leave the worst defensive third baseman in baseball at third base in Rafael Devers. So I think that's the way you keep all parties happy. Is that the way they should do it? I don't know. They're going to rely on the bats to make up for potential errors in the field this upcoming season.
Yeah, that ballpark is a sandbox too, so it's always high-scoring games. But maybe that just means you should rely more on defense to get rid of runs. But the other way is you're going to score runs. So
Well, they're going to hope that the pitching staff holds up because they did go out and grab Garrett Crochet. They got Walker Bueller on that 1-year prove-it deal. But other than that, and again, I guess Bueller can be a question mark as well, but Tanner Houck, or Hawk, whatever you want to
great
call
last
it,
name. No, it's Hal.
Brian Bell, is it Houck?
Yep.
Brian Bello, not spelled the same. Brian Bello, Cutter Crawford, who did have a really nice year last year, but kind of either fighting for the fifth spot against Giolito or they'll run a 6-man rotation. I'm not sure. I am higher than I think others are on this team and this lineup, especially with the addition of Alex Bregman. I think that's an A-plus signing for them to get, especially – you're either in win now mode with Devers or you got to get rid of him. You kind of proved you're in win now mode with Crochet and Walker Bueller. You might as well get the last premier free agent on the market, and that's what they did.
Yeah, I think Bregman puts them from the team that's kind of in the thick of the 3 to 6 seed in the AL fighting for that last wild card to the team that's fighting for that first wild card.
I can agree to that. And yeah, it's a tough division. Maybe not a tough league in the American League, but a tough division nonetheless. We talked about it and debated it, and we can debate it again. But I think probably either the winner of the AL East or the team out of the AL East will probably represent the American League in the World Series.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and we're gonna get into it here at the end of the show too. I'm excited to talk some AL East. It's going to be a very competitive division, and also a lot of teams that are question marks. I mean, we talk about the Red Sox, but the Orioles didn't do much in the offseason. The
The
Yankees lost
Orioles.
Juan Soto. I mean,
Yeah,
Are we getting into all of it now, or are we saving it for the end?
no,
no,
I want the
we're
people
gonna
to
save it
watch
to the end.
in between. I'm teasing it. You got to keep watching if you want to see the AL East preview.
Yeah, we will get to that in the end. Our guy Nick did a good job over on viewsfromsection400.com in dialing up the preview. Again, 6 divisions in 3 weeks. So stay tuned. We're not just doing the AL East. We're going to cover the entire MLB. He'll write, we'll discuss. But we'll move on from baseball here and jump into the NFL. There are some headlines that we have out there. Brian had one pertaining to the Giants at the end of this segment. I wanted to bring up something about my Eagles as they found their offensive coordinator of the future, or at least for a year. We know Nick Sirianni's guys get plucked after 1 year, but at least for the year, Kevin Patullo, who was the Eagles passing game coordinator and associate head coach, will step into the offensive coordinator role and command the offense. He's been with Sirianni since the Colts. He's been the passing game guy since 2021. Knows the system, knows the team. The players are familiar with him. I don't see too much of a step back here. Brian Johnson all over again is definitely a question mark because it's a hire from within. But I don't hate it. It's a Nick Sirianni guy. He was with them since the Colts, and they just elevated him to the offensive coordinator. So I think they won't lose too much there. But again, the Eagles get their new coordinator early, which I think is helpful. And we'll go from here and see what he can do now with full reins of the offense, that best offense in the NFL.
Kevin's Patullo is going to be a sandwich on Primo Hoagie's menu very soon, especially if that offense does well.
Yeah.
I thought Big Dom was the associate head coach.
It said associate head coach when I was looking at his bio. Maybe, they throw titles around like it's trading cards back in the 70s. It's what it is. I think his legitimate role as the passing game coordinator since 2021, and he also was with Nick Sirianni when Sirianni was with the Colts. So look, it's a Sirianni guy. It's another guy to add to the Sirianni coaching tree, which is getting bigger and bigger as we go the years in advance. So something to look out for there is the Sirianni coaching tree. But we'll see what Patullo has in store. I don't think Brian Johnson was a Sirianni guy. So Patullo is definitely a Sirianni guy. So that keeps me somewhat optimistic, but I will proceed with caution.
Is Brian Johnson employed?
He is on the Redskins, assistant or associate head coach. I'm not sure what else he provides for that team, but
hopefully not much more.
I think he was something, definitely an offensive guy, but I know he's on that staff from what I read.
Yeah, well, I really hope for Jaden Daniels' sake he doesn't see any promotions anytime soon.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. But moving on here, again, big news from Eagles camp, but just a quick story. We don't have to get into it. I know there's been a lot of international talk. What is confirmed, the Chargers will open up next year in Brazil. So the Brazil game is here to stay. I think it said an opponent to be announced at a later date. Let's go around the horn here. Who do you think they should play? Would be a fun game to open up the NFL season in Brazil?
There's a lot of talk about it being the Commanders. I could see them definitely going back to the NFC East, especially because the Chargers have them all this year. They won't do it to the Eagles again.
No.
I really hope I guess the Giants out in Brazil wouldn't be the worst thing.
No.
Why don't we get the Harbaugh Bowl out in Brazil? Send the Ravens down there.
Do they have the Ravens next year?
It depends. We already know the opponents, so we have to kind of pick from the Chargers' opponents to at least have a shot.
Yeah, who do the Chargers have at home next year?
Is this going to be considered a home game for the Chargers?
Yeah.
Most likely, since they were the ones who were announced.
All right.
The Chiefs, that looks like Kansas City written all over it. Will they do?
They won't get rid of a division game. Yeah.
Vikings, Steelers, Colts. That kind of. I could see the Steelers.
The Jags.
No, Jags already go to London.
No.
2 in London?
No, we're playing in London. We're not going to Brazil.
2 in London, 1 in Brazil. That'd be nuts.
No, that wouldn't happen. No, we're looking at home games, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which would be just so everybody knows, it could be.
So the Giants are on the road. Okay, so it won't be the Giants.
I think the Steelers or the Commanders. Maybe
it could be
Maybe
It could be the
Houston.
Chiefs, Colts, Eagles, Broncos, Commanders, Steelers, Raiders, Texans, Vikings. I don't think you can really count any of those. I think you can count the Eagles out, and they won't do a division game.
I think it would
So
make
that,
sense. I think it would make sense to send Houston.
Houston would be the closest, right?
Yes,
yes.
it would be the closest, and you know that I think there are plenty of Brazilians that live in Texas and like especially Houston. So I think that would make the most sense.
It makes sense to us, but I don't think geography matters that much because Green Bay's the northernmost team in the NFL or close, and they sent them down to Brazil.
That's
So
true.
does geography matter that much?
Yeah, is this guaranteed week one?
Yeah, it's to open the
Yeah, so
season again.
It'll be Thursday night. Eagles will probably play Thursday night. No, they
It's it'll
usually
be Friday. It'll be
it'll
Friday.
be
The Thursday
Friday.
opens and then Friday Brazil game.
It's been the Chiefs for so long. So the Eagles will open up Thursday night, right? It's usually the Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, they might do Eagles Commanders as an open.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
Then Friday will be that Brazil game. So Chargers Raider or no, they won't do
I like the
Chargers
Houston call.
Steelers, Houston Vikings.
Houston's jerseys with the Chargers jerseys on those Amazon Prime cameras. I think that I'm gonna assume this is on Prime again. That seems
Yeah.
like the
That would
perfect.
be a playoff rematch too. I think that would be a
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
That
I
makes
could
a lot of sense. Did we
I could
just call
visualize
that?
that in my head.
Texans Chargers. That's the official Views from Section 400 call. You don't have to wait for the media outlets to present it. That's what we're picking. Texans Chargers in Brazil. Weird fan bases, though. I mean, are they like that? Could be a very underwhelming, tourist accumulation of money for the city of Sao Paulo compared to when they
Well,
just had Green Bay and Philadelphia down there, and now they go to LA and Houston.
Well, I think if that's the angle you want to take, I think the next team that would make the most sense is the Steelers. I feel like the
Yeah,
Steelers and Green Bay are sort of on the same page where they just have random pockets of fans throughout the world.
they do because of a lifelong of success. What it feels like.
Probably get a soccer score from that game too. Be on brand.
Yeah, it definitely would be on brand. But yeah, that's the international game. There's a lot this year. There's Australia, Sao Paulo. There's a game in I think Berlin.
Madrid.
London has this game. Madrid. So a lot of international stuff for the NFL. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. As long as the Eagles don't play in it, I love to see it. And yeah, just side note, I figured out why. I know we rag on the Jags in London, but he actually the Jags owner owns Fulham FC,
Yeah.
which I didn't know. I didn't know that, so I actually found that out today.
He
He
like
wants
almost
to move him to London. He loves London.
He
no, he
loves
does
London.
not. No, he does not want to move them to
I
London.
agree, he loves London. I don't know
He
if I
is,
can get on the he's moving him there train though.
he is very committed to the city of Jacksonville.
So you think? We'll
No,
move.
he's investing in $1 billion stadium renovation. Like that's not you don't do that and then move the team out of Jacksonville to London like a year or two later. Like that's just not happening.
I agree. I don't think he's going to London, but I did find out. I mean, he owns a Premier League club in London, so that makes sense why he's always pushing. He has no problem signing the Jags up for multiple London games every year.
Yeah, he almost bought Wembley Stadium too. Like
Really?
he's big over there for sure.
Yeah,
Like
big guy over there, but
yeah.
nonetheless, Jaguars will still be the premier international team in the NFL for the foreseeable future.
I'll wear that with pride.
Yeah, I mean, if there's only one way to do it, right? And that's
We're
with
gonna have to get
pride.
our fans from somewhere, Matt.
Hey, I agree. Small market, branch out. Anyway, we'll move on here to, I guess, well, I had one more little thing on the NFL, which I guess isn't really crazy news, but it was just Andy Dalton re-signing with the Panthers. So they have their backup committed this year, and they'll roll the dice with Bryce Young again. A nice little 2-year, $8 million deal can be worth up to $10 million with incentives. So Andy Dalton will stay in Carolina, and they'll run. We'll probably see a mix of Bryce Young and Andy Dalton next year. I mean, if history repeats itself, both of those guys will have maybe not significant, but both of them will see snaps next year.
Bryce ended the season well. I'm rooting for Bryce. I know he's a Bama guy, but I'm rooting for him. But guns are back in America. The Red Rifle returns.
The red rifle returns, and not to go too far off track, which I know we kind of can, but you brought up something interesting there, Brian. Bryce Young is a Bama guy. When these guys get out of Bama and go to their pro league, does that open up for you guys to, like them as players and be, more supportive of them? Brian, you just kind of openly admitted that you like them a little more. I'd love to hear Jack's take on this.
Quite honestly, Matt, like it's like I talked about earlier with Bregman. There will always be that little asterisk next to their name. Like I won't forget you went to Bama, but at the same time, you come to the Jags. You're a big time player in the league that's well respected, like a Julio Jones. Like I can forgive your sins for what you did against Auburn, and I can respect you for the player that you are. Like Julio Jones, I will always respect him. But then there's also other guys like a Derrick Henry who destroyed my Auburn Tigers and then destroyed my Jaguars for a decade, and I will never forgive that man.
That's tough to forgive.
If he was standing in front of me, I would still say hi and respect him. But there's just a real big asterisk next to his name.
I think I'm a little more lenient than you, but I understand the Derrick Henry. I hate these guys because of the Bama jersey they wear, but I don't hate them. So like once they go in the NFL, I mean it's whatever. Although there's an asterisk, like yeah, you went to Bama, but I'm rooting for them to succeed. Also,
Gotcha.
I will never root for Brandon Miller. That's the one guy. People, I'm never gonna
I
forget. He
don't like
handed a
him
gun
either.
to a guy that killed a guy. Not forgetting that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Brandon Miller is a guy that I won't like. But there are plenty of Bama guys that I do like. I said Julio.
I like Devonta Smith. He's a Bama
Oh
Andy.
yeah, I like Devonta Smith. Sorry, I thought that list was going to be a lot longer, but I guess I couldn't really think of too many off of the rip. Oh, I like the what is it, Quincy Williams, the dude who blessed himself when he was
Quinnen.
seasoned.
Quentin Williams on the
Quinn
Jets,
Williams.
yeah. The D lineman guy who wears the
Yeah,
braces.
yeah,
Stud.
I
Wears
can
it a
respect.
grill.
I like that dude too. I mean, there are plenty of Bama guys that I like, but in general,
Oh,
I like to
actually,
find reasons to not like them.
I hate the Vikings kicker. Will Rickard or whatever his
Or
name is.
Reichard, yeah,
Rickard.
yeah, yeah.
Reichard? Yeah, he's a Bama guy and he broke Carlson's points record. Yeah, I don't like
Yeah.
him.
Okay. I could see that. All right. We don't have to get too far down the rabbit hole on that, but just a little fun thing to see where you guys stand on. There's a lot of SEC guys, especially from Bama, make it to the next level. So, a lot of guys you were rooting against in college. Now, do you have a soft spot? But good stuff there. We wrap up the NFL segment here with Brian's team as the Giants are emerging, maybe not favorites, but are heavily interested in Matt Stafford. We see Jeff Darlington's latest mock points to, the Giants getting Stafford.
Yep, he had them taking Travis Hunter at the 3 pick, and someone responded and was like, why would they not take a quarterback? And he responded with a gif of Stafford winning the Super Bowl. So he thinks Stafford's going to go there, and this is completely the fault of John Mara, which in turn is the fault of Joe Schmo letting go of Saquon Barkley. But John Mara told Dable and Joe Schmo they have a year to prove it. So now they're going to mortgage the future to try to get Stafford. And Travis Hunter would be cool. And it'd be cool if you got Travis Hunter and then tanked to get Arch Manning next year. But the problem is if you get Matthew Stafford, he's going to be good enough to get you like 5 or 6 wins. And that puts you in the middle of the draft. And that, again, mortgages your future. So I'm trying not to get mad about the Giants anymore because I am aware their front office is just run by a bunch of hamsters running on a wheel and not people with brains. But Matt Stafford with a bad team isn't good. Matt Stafford with a great team is going to win you a Super Bowl. Matt Stafford with a bad team is going to win you 5 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Detroit versus Los Angeles. We've seen it before. Don't
Multiple
let history
times.
repeat itself.
And this Giant team is obviously, as we're alluding to, they're not in win now mode. They need to blow it up. They need to, they kind of said, hey, we're gonna rebuild and we need to rebuild with, letting Saquon Barkley go. That was kind of your only chip that was holding you, from what are we doing here to, you have a young Malik Neighbors, which unfortunately they're gonna waste this rookie deal trying to get better. I think Stafford only further sets them back even more, which great. Love to see it. The Giants, I haven't even really been mad or just like annoyed with the Giants because they've been so irrelevant. The Commanders are probably going to start to get on my nerves a little more than the Giants have.
Yeah, I think that's the big issue. Like if Tyrone Trace is a good player. Like I really enjoyed watching Tyrone Trace, and I think he's going to be a solid running back in the NFL. But if you still have Saquon and you add Stafford, and then you have Stafford, Saquon, Malik Neighbors, and then you go get Travis Hunter, that's instantly like a top 10 offense in the NFL. But the issue is you don't have Saquon. And Tyrone Tracy doesn't put you over the hump. Like, yeah, sure, you have Stafford and then maybe Neighbors and Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter might not play. He might play 20 snaps at wide receiver a game. So it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it would be cool, right, for Travis Hunter and Malik Neighbors to line up on the field together, as pass catchers. But who's throwing them the ball? I don't know that Stafford propels them to any type of like maybe in a world they go 9-8 and sneak into a wild card spot, but I still don't think that. I think that's like absolute like miracle best case scenario, which is obviously asking for a lot.
I've shifted my focus from tank for Arch next year to just grab Cam Ward, win as many games as you can, and get me Cam Coleman next year. And get the Cams. Actually, Cam needs to play another year. So yeah, you tank for 2 years with Cam Ward. You got Cam Coleman in 2 years, and then next year you focus on the O line. And then in 2 years, that's a great offense, and we're ready to win a Super Bowl.
But that's never going to happen because the front office, at least for this year, are on prove it deals. They're on, hey, we have to impress the owner or we're out of town. I mean, they can't go to the owner and say, hey, look, we're not going to win. Like, let's just tank. The owner's going to tank then.
Yeah, this does seem pretty stupid. That if they go out and get Stafford, this will be because Dable and whoever else are in fear of losing their jobs, which will only hurt the franchise even more. So your owner needs to chill out yet again.
It's a situation of where you can't win, right? You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If they go out and try and win now, they don't have enough talent and enough resources to get the pieces to win now. If they don't and tank, the owner's going to fire the entire regime, Dable, Joe Schmo, the whole 9 yards. So I think that, the Giants front office is just screwed.
Just get Cam Ward.
Yeah, get the quarterback, get Cam Ward, get the quarterback, win as many games as you can with him, show the development, and then that is, even if you only win 4, 5, or 6 games, I think that might be enough, depending on the progression of the season and the progression of the quarterback and the team. That might be enough to save their jobs.
The best case scenario is you win 4 games with Cam Ward next year, and Cam Ward looks great, and Malik Neighbors looks great.
And then do that, Brian, and then lose a couple games like by the kicker blowing it. So it's like, all right, it's not the GM or the head coach's fault. Like the kicker blew us 4 games. The owner's like, okay, we would have been there, but the kicker kind of screwed up. I can't put it on those guys. They're developing the quarterback, putting the team in. Okay, I can buy into this regime again.
Yeah, I mean, you literally need what we saw the past few seasons.
But just with the quarterback that I have hope for. The last few seasons, it's been Tommy DeVito, stopgap, Daniel Jones, me trying to convince myself, and then finally saying this isn't the future. And then
No, you're absolutely right. With the new quarterback showing a little bit of progression and the same results as the past few seasons.
Exactly.
Agreed there. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I had on the NFL. We'll jump into winners and losers in just a sec here, but we do have a massive hockey game tonight, guys. Canada-USA rematch in the Four Nations Cup, Olympics, whatever you want to call it. But we have a rematch, and the U.S. did beat Canada over the weekend in an electric turn-back-the-clock-esque type hockey game. I'm a little nervous for this one. I believe the U.S. is favored right around -120, -130. But as we all know, it is damn tough, especially the all-star caliber loaded Canada team. It's going to be tough for the U.S. to win 2 straight, this time on home soil up in Boston.
Yeah, I'm a little worried.
I'm a little worried as well. It's going to be tough to do it twice in a row. They're going to have to set the tone again with hits early and often.
Yeah, I mean, look, these guys this is what they all live for. This is USA hockey. This is world hockey, and this is what's up, man. I'm pumped for this game. I'm gonna be watching this. Um, Dude, I don't expect fights right off the rip again, but I do expect a very physical hockey game.
I think we'll see a few fights right off the rip. Those
I
drunk
think we'll.
Boston fans are definitely going to boo that "Oh Canada," and Sidney Crosby's not going to like that.
You think
Yeah,
you think Boston fans are going to take it into their hands to boo Canada?
Yeah, you might
absolutely.
not be able to hear "Oh Canada."
I
I
definitely
love it.
they're definitely gonna boo it. I mean, America, we are petty as shit. We are 1,000% booing that fucking anthem.
Do we know the status of Kachuk?
If I was there, I'd be booing that anthem.
Oh
I'm
yeah, I
also
would
an
too.
asshole Philly guy, but I'd be booing that anthem.
I'd boo the anthem as well.
Hell yeah, dude, they booed our anthem. I don't care how petty it is. F them. But I am worried that we puffed our chest and claimed hockey in this, that, and the third, and we might have jumped the gun just ever so slightly. But we'll see what happens if we have a big hockey game. Go USA! Go USA! Go USA!
Play Freebird.
Please do it. But and now the premier segment of Viewership Section 400. It is the winners and losers of the week. The guys go around and say who won the week. The guys go around and say who lost the week. Jack, I'll kick it off with you. Do you have a winner for us this week, or are we going double loser?
I got a winner for you guys.
There we go.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about international hockey as of late. Obviously, we literally just covered it just a few seconds ago. But how about some international basketball? So, as we know, the U.S. took home gold in the
Oh,
Olympics this past summer.
I know where this is going.
Netflix just dropped a new documentary. It's a behind the scenes look at the U.S. basketball team. You know, LeBron, Steph, KD, Tyrese Halliburton, the whole squad. Called Court of Gold. I watched the first episode or two before I went to bed last night. It is phenomenal. I mean, this pumps me up. It makes me one love basketball. Two, just love some of these players even more. I mean, it's been awesome so far. I mean, and also it's not just a win for USA basketball. This is a win for basketball everywhere. Like the camera time that like some of the guys in Serbia got, some of the guys in France got, like, you know, not everybody's a big time NBA star. Like some of these guys were on like the 92 Olympic teams. Like it's really awesome to see the game of basketball for all the shit that we give the NBA. It's great to see, how great the game of basketball is doing.
Yeah, I remember seeing a promo for this a couple months ago, and like a few weeks ago, I looked up Court of Gold just to see if it had been released yet, because I hadn't heard anything about it. And then I saw it was mid-February, and I forgot it was releasing until like 2 days ago. And I'm so happy you said it was good because if you guys remember from when the Olympics were happening, I was up at like 6 a.m. writing about FIBA basketball. I'm a FIBA fanatic. I'm so excited to watch this documentary. I haven't watched it yet, but I did see a clip of Kevin Durant just like crying, talking about the intricacies of the game.
It might make you cry, Brian. I know you might shed a tear during this.
I'm so excited for this documentary.
It's always cool when they give that behind the scenes, in depth look of something you don't really ever think of, right? Like you're not thinking of the or behind the scenes of the Olympics and what these guys go through, and just obviously the work they put into something like this. So definitely a good job by everybody involved, and like really cool in depth opportunity that we have to kind of see something that we don't get to see. This is kind of really the first time I think they've done something like this. And the Olympics have been around for a while.
Yeah, and even if you're not the biggest basketball fan, you should still take a look at this. It's pretty in depth on the Olympics in general as well. Like they go in and they talk to Noah Lyles, the U.S. track star. They show Simone Biles, the gymnast. Some I think it was Bam and Tyrese Halliburton went to like a fencing match. So it's pretty interesting. I would definitely recommend everybody check it out.
Did you get any of the Anthony Edwards with the table tennis team? Because I know that was a big story.
Yes, yes. I mean, yes.
Yes.
Anthony Edwards, table tennis team. Anthony Edwards with Obama saying like I'm him. Oh, he said I'm the truth to Obama. I love Anthony Edwards. He hasn't changed. He's talking to LeBron James. He's talking to a bum on the street. He's talking to Barack Obama, a former president. Like, it doesn't matter who he's talking to. He's talking to them the same. He's telling them, I'm him. I'm the truth. I mean, this dude's so funny.
Yeah, he really is, and that's why everybody loves the personality that he has because you never know what to expect. But that's good stuff there, Jack. Brian, why don't you kick us off here or continue the trend? I always say kick us off when we already are kicked off. What's your winner of the week?
Yeah, this is a little bit of a rabbit hole we're gonna go down, but
Here we go.
the winner of the week is underdogs. So Mississippi Valley State, they are Mississippi Valley State is a horrendous basketball program. They're not good.
Horrendous athletic program. Are we talking about the green and red logo? Maybe like the Devils or something like
Devils.
that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Well aware of this program in general.
Yeah, it's probably due to a lack of funding. A lot of HBCUs have a lack of funding, but that's a whole nother thing that we don't need to talk about. But they had a kid, Jadarius Towns, that played a minute in a game the other night. There's no report of this guy playing a minute in college basketball before or high school basketball.
So is he a freshman or?
He apparently he doesn't have a bio on the website. They just like put him in and he got a minute of playing time. He didn't do anything besides run cardio, but
yes. I don't even know where's the rabbit hole angle?
So now we get to the whole reason, well, not the whole reason, but they suck. They get no funding. So this random guy on Twitter, I don't know his actual handle, what he does, but he decided to make an account for their basketball team, calling it the official basketball team account. Their official basketball team account hasn't been active in over 2 years. So there was no like official MVSU basketball account. And he's been tweeting all season long, like got to know all the players, been tweeting highlights. He's like, oh, we're only down 30. What a big shot. Like the whole Chris Paul meme of like Chris Paul hits a big shot to cut the lead to 42. He's been like dedicated, watching every game, tweeting links to like the YouTube channels these games are streaming on. He has been like extremely dedicated. So this week, his account gets locked and he doesn't know why. He's like, all right, who did it? Like who snitched? There is another account, MVSU Fanatics. That's like the official keep up with the MVSU sports. Reported his account for like a bunch of harassment and like just impersonation. And they've been going at it all week. And this guy, so someone called him out. He's like, MVSU men's basketball team has done more for your school than you've ever done. And his response, no matter how much you random colonizers not affiliated with HBCUs about, it hasn't tweeted in 2 years, speaking of the old account. And then he adds the official account, is the official Twitter account for MVSU men's basketball. Twitter agreed, which is why the other account locked and forced itself as a parody. And every single response he gets, the guy calls him a dumbass, but he spells ass, S-S-A.
Dude, I'm slightly lost.
It's one of those things. I've just been on Twitter all week following this, but basically their official account that has done nothing for their school other than bitch about their lack of funding is mad at this other guy, random guy, that's gotten millions of followers, not millions, but thousands of followers on his fake official team account just because he's a diehard fan and probably done more for that school than that other guy has ever done. And now he's mad. He's basically jealous of the account.
Brian, who's the winner?
The winner is Jadarius Towns for playing basketball. Oh, full circle. I forgot to mention this. The reason I found out about this was because the guy that made the fake MVSU basketball account tweeted about it. And I wouldn't have known that if this guy wasn't funny and tweeting about that team every night and I wasn't following him.
You should have started that out with, I'm about to go down a rabbit hole, not we're about to go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I got ready to cook, brother. And
yeah, I was ready to jump in and really keep digging down that hole. Pause. And was just, was kind of like, what the heck was that all about?
It's a really fascinating story. That this guy is just really mad at this other guy for putting eyes on his school.
Yeah, Matt, my loser of the week is going to be Brian's winner of the week.
I can get behind that.
Dude, this guy has 8,000 followers on his fake team account, and the other guy has 396, and he's been around since 2021. The fake team account was joined August 2024.
Yeah, for anybody that listened to that, I hope you found way more enjoyment than it seems Matt or myself did. I hope you're on Brian's level of enjoyment with that. Go check it out on Twitter. Matt, what's your winner of the week?
Yeah, thanks for getting us off of that. I kept it pretty basic. I honestly struggled trying to find a winner. It was to Brian's defense here, and again, I'll full circle it as he did a hand motion there for those not watching when he said full circle. There wasn't a lot out there this week.
No,
So
it's the worst sports week in sport on the sports calendar. What do you want me to come up with?
Brian dug deep and tried his best, and we applaud his efforts. Mine came over the weekend and again was pretty basic and kind of got gifted the win, but it's going to be the college student Jared Barras who beat Damian Lillard in the shooting contest and won himself six figures, won himself $100,000. So that kid, college student, going home with a nice big paycheck after beating Damian Lillard. I think Mr. Beast had something to do with it as well. Probably sponsored the event.
Happy.
Yeah, sponsored the event. Well, because Damian Lillard so easily should have won that. He went up 2-0, or what? Did the kid have to hit one shot? Lillard had to hit three? Is that how that went?
I wasn't watching. I just know people were mad about Mr. Beast.
All I know is Lillard hit like two shots and then stopped shooting or really started to slow up shooting attempts. And this kid, in Lillard slowing down, finally hit one and they gave him the $100K. So no investigation was had, and Jaron Barras walks away as a college student with a six-figure paycheck.
Yeah, I don't know if you can write off game show money given away, but Mr. Beast is giving away like $15 million this month.
Yeah, there's something that he's doing that's still keeping him profitable, probably.
Yeah, I heard him talk about it one time, Brian. He was like, yeah, all of the money I make, I give all of it away. I put it all in my videos, or I have to save it for my taxes. Like that's like the structure of how he spends his money.
Yeah, and it's working out for him. So yeah, that's my winner of the week. Congrats to that college kid, like I said, walking out of there with six figures. But Jack, are you sticking with Brian's loser of the week as Brian's winner? I don't hate that.
You know what? I am, but I'm also going to throw you just one other loser just because it was my actual loser and it's appropriate. I was thinking about making Auburn basketball my winner again for beating Bama, but I've done that enough times. I'm just going to make Bama basketball my loser for getting beat belt to ass in their own home court. It was really nice shutting that crowd up.
Yeah, that's a good one. And again, on the road, big victory, and hold on. Bring it up as much as you can when you're on the victorious side, right?
Absolutely. This is our season.
Yeah, I was listening to Mark Titus, who's a former basketball player. He's a podcast now, but he kind of summed up Bama perfectly. He said they're just like a robotic NBA-style basketball team, where if the three's not working, they're not going to win games, where Auburn can kind of score in really like seven different ways. Like the Dahad can just pull up. They can score off a Chad ball screen, just give Janai the ball inside, but yeah, depending on the draw, it may be more than just hatred that makes me put Bama as an upset early in my bracket this year.
I don't think it's a far stretch thing to potentially happen on maybe not in the first round, but on the second game of that opening weekend could definitely see that happening.
I would agree with you if they weren't also like the number one rebounding team in the country. Because I just think that's how like they weren't shooting that well against us, but they still out rebounded the heck out of us, and that made me nervous all game. I mean, there are going to be games where like shots aren't falling for them, but with the second and like third chance points, I feel like they're not going to get bounced that easily.
Auburn's like historically good, so I'm not that worried, but we might see a lot of one seeds go down early this year because like that 8-9 line, it's all historically great, possibly blue blood programs. You're gonna have Gonzaga there, you're gonna have UConn there, you're gonna have Kansas possibly on the 8-9. It's gonna be a lot of
You're absolutely right, Brian. I think that's a great point, and
Baylor too.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But what's your loser of the week? Please tell me you have something to be better than whatever you just threw at us.
Well, I don't know if it's better. I liked mine. And maybe some listeners will like mine, but it was a maybe it's just entertaining to me and my brain. My loser is salads.
Okay.
Dustin May revealed this week that his season ended last year because he ate a piece of lettuce, and that piece of lettuce tore his esophagus, and he had to get an emergency surgery.
What?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's how his season ended.
Who was this?
He's a
Dodgers
pitcher for the
Dusty
Dodgers,
May.
right? Yeah.
Who'd you say?
Dodgers pitcher Dusty May, who's been injured for different
It's not
reasons.
Dusty May. It's Dustin May.
Dusty
May
May's
is
FAU
the
guy.
Michigan.
Now
He's the Michigan head coach.
Dustin May, yeah.
That's what I thought Jack was trying to trip you up on, and I was like, "Damn, Jack, way to go on the fucking on the ball knowledge there."
He straight up mumbled it into my ears, so I was like, I genuinely didn't hear who he said, and then he was like, I don't even know what you said. The Duke guy,
the Dodgers pitcher.
I still don't even know like what you're saying right now. Half of it's just being mumbled.
Dustin May,
the nasty two-seam sinker pitcher, which is he has to twist his arm a weird way, so probably why he's had so many arm injuries. And damn, I guess it got worse with some emergency esophagus throat surgery. Is that how that went down?
Yeah, and I apologize to all the listeners for just killing their eardrums, but I think it's time for Dustin May to retire.
Yeah, a lot of injury, very injury prone. And if you're eating salad and requiring emergency surgery from that, might be time to hang up the cleats. But I guess salads are the loser. I eat salads. I don't have emergency surgery, so they're not a loser for me.
Maybe Dustin May is the loser.
Yeah, that could be it too. I'm gonna have to respond to whatever tweet I saw with the man versus food one meme. Maybe
did I need to add a pause after the I eat salads?
No.
I'm sorry, guys. I'll go to my loser of the week here. And it's a weird one. I don't know if this guy's a starter on the offensive line, but he's been on the team for 4+ years. Baltimore Ravens guard Ben Cleveland was arrested, I think, last night or 2 nights ago for DUI. He blew a .178, which is twice the legal limit. Said to the cop that he had a few beers at the country club, and he blew twice the legal limit. The reason why it's a major bad look and loser of the week, obviously for the safety hazards and putting people in harm's way, is self in harm's way, but he's set to become an unrestricted free agent next month. So probably about the worst thing you could do when you're pending a contract extension or a contract from another team. Next month will become the unrestricted free agent. Might have just cost himself a couple $1 million.
At least he wasn't doing stuff in massage parlors, but 0.27 as an offensive lineman? Dude, that's going to be like...
0.178. So I guess that's 0.2, close to 0.2.
He's got to be like 20 beers.
He said he had a few beers at the country club.
I mean...
Was pulled over for
he's an offensive lineman. It's going to take him a while.
Yeah, you said Ben Cleveland?
Ben Cleveland. They said he blew a .178, which is twice the legal limit. And he told the cop that he had a few beers at the country club throughout the day.
Dude is 359 pounds. Like, that had to be 20 beers.
Yeah, I mean, he was drunk. He was twice the legal limit. He was drunk. They pulled him over for failure to maintain his lane. And like I said, above all, like you're pending a potential contract extension or new contract from another team next month. And like I said, probably going to end up leaving a lot of money on the table.
I'm trying to look it up right now. Because I know. Do you guys know if this guy is brothers with Ezra Cleveland, the offensive guard for the Jaguars?
I had no idea who Ezra Cleveland was before you just said they kind of. No.
They're both guards, and they're both
26
right now. I had never heard of Ben Cleveland.
Yeah, so Ezra is from Washington. Where's Ben from? Ben is from Georgia, so probably not.
The cops wrote, I guess, in the report, they had a write-up that Cleveland was driving so erratically he nearly steered his black Ford F-250 into a ditch.
It's a big boy driving a big truck.
During the stop, authorities said Cleveland admitted to drinking approximately 3 to 4 beers at a nearby country club before getting behind the wheel. I don't think a .178 is just 3 to 4 beers.
His 3 to 4 beers is probably a regular person's like swig of Listerine.
Right. Again, I think he might have maybe had like 15 beers.
He probably got a whole case.
It did come down a little bit when he got back to the police headquarters. It was a level of .161. So sobered up a bit in the car ride over to the station. But I think some people have reached out for a comment from the Ravens. They have not released a statement as of this time of recording.
That PR team's got to be going through it.
Through it, dude. Justin Tucker. Now you got offensive linemen hammered, nearly driving cars into ditches. It's been a rough off season, and we're like just getting started. But as always, it's the winners and losers of the week. A fun one this week. I'm glad we got into it. We'll see y'all in the next one for winners and losers next week. We did tease it in the beginning of the show. It is time now to go over an AL East preview. Again, 6 divisions in 3 weeks. Our guy Nick is doing a division preview for all MLB divisions. AL East will be up first. Make sure you go check out views from section400.com for all the previews on our website. But we talked about the Red Sox in the beginning of the show. They have been highlighted this week because of Alex Bregman, and then some interviews from some of their key players as well. But our guy Nick wrote up a nice little article for them and also for the other 4 teams in the division there in the AL East. And he, again, go check this out over on our website. But his American League East standings prediction, he has the Red Sox coming in first, the Yankees in second, Baltimore Orioles in third, Tampa Bay Rays in fourth, and the Toronto Blue Jays finishing dead last in that division. Brian, do you agree or disagree that the Red Sox will be the outright winner of arguably the toughest conference in the American League or division in the American League?
I think Nick is smoking whatever Tristan Casas is smoking. He has them at 95 wins, and as he says in his article, they haven't made the playoffs in 5 of the last 6 years. I think this is a playoff team, but in that hard of a division, 95 wins is going to be really, really tough. And if you want to read his full analysis, I'm not going to spoil it all, but like Matt said on our website, viewsfromtech400.com, he talks about the prospects that could be coming up to help. But Matt, you mentioned the rotation earlier in the show. They're not the only good lineup in this division.
No, they're not. And like Garrett Crochet, if he's what he was last year, okay, Cy Young potential and a great front end of the rotation guy. But I think Walker Buehler's a question mark. I like the gamble because it's a 1-year prove-it deal. But other than that, I mean, you know, where are they going to get help to win games, right? Like Walker Buehler, like I said, Giolito, who got rocked last year, was not a very good pitcher. Cutter Crawford was good for them. Brian Bello, I'd say is an unknown. I mean, still a young guy. He had a good year last year, I think is fair to say. He had some very bright spots and had some times where he got rocked. So I think he's, I'd be behind him. Tanner Houck emerged as a starting guy from the bullpen. You don't see that too often. Guys go from starter to bullpen and then, emerge back as a starter. It happens, but weird to see here. And then I think the bottom of their lineup in Connor Wong, Willer Abreu, and Cedane Rafaela, I don't think you have much there. Trevor Story, obviously, a big question mark as well. The top of the lineup will be great. Jarren Duran, supposed to have an elite all-star caliber year. Rafael Devers, Bregman, Tristan Casas, who guy needs, I think, bring his average up a little bit. He hits the home runs, but, I mean, his average is not where it should be. Some
He's been a breakout candidate for like 3 years.
for like 3 years, and he hits the home runs. But I think the average needs to come up a little bit before we start saying this guy's, an elite, fourth cleanup guy. So yeah, a lot of question marks. Could they win the division? I guess if Bregman's like an MVP candidate and Devers is lights out and Duran turns into this elite leadoff guy, Johnny Damon-esque guy that they're hoping for. And then they're going to need one of these unknown pitchers to step up is the only way I see that. But like you alluded to, Brian, this AL East is stacked.
Yeah, I don't see. I won't say I don't see a world where the Sox take the division, but you're talking about a division with the Yankees and the Orioles in it, who both won 90 games last year, and I think it's more likely for the Red Sox to win the division than it is for them to win 95 games this year. Like neither of the Yankees or the Orioles did that last year, and they both were clearly better than the Red Sox. They're going to be right there again this year. The Orioles and the Yankees didn't get that much worse. I know Juan Soto is no longer in pinstripes, but they're fine. To say that the Sox are going to make this jump, I'm not seeing what Nick's seeing.
Like they'll be good, and I think they'll be competitive for sure. But it just comes to where there's too much around them in their own division. Like if this team was maybe in the AL Central, they'd be great. They'd win the AL Central. But in the AL East, it's a lot tougher.
95 games might be low in the AL Central, but
you mean the East?
If they were in the
AL Central, yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, it's like you said, Matt. If Crochet can become a Cy Young candidate, if Bregman and Devers can be MVP type players, then maybe. But they're a good team. I think they're a couple pieces away from being a great team.
Yeah, couple pieces, and if that pitching staff, if those couple pieces, aka question marks, turn into these great things, maybe sure, there's a world, but I think it's more likely than not to happen. We talked, Jack, a little bit. Mentioned the Yankees there. I think we can jump to their outlook. I don't know where to start. The top of the lineup is going to be pretty loaded. Is Jason Dominguez or Deshaun Dominguez going to be their leadoff guy, or is it going to be Anthony Volpe? I think that's a pretty big question mark on where that'll stand. You're still going to have Judge there. Again, Juan Soto gone, so Cody Bellinger is the new replacement, I guess, for that. They signed Paul Goldschmidt on a 1-year, not a prove-it deal, just a veteran deal of trying to milk the last bit of elite hitting that they can out of the guy. But yeah, other than that, Austin Wells, we'll see what that guy is. I don't remember him being a spectacular hitter. I know in the playoffs, I'm pretty sure he wasn't great. And we'll see what they do with DJ LeMahieu at the bottom of the lineup. If that guy, turns back the clock a little bit and goes to, where he could be, hitting for average, they might have something there. But just from immediately looking at this lineup, I think the lineup's better than the Red Sox. And, we can get to their pitching staff in just a second. But first glance, I think I like their pitching staff over the Red Sox as well.
Yeah, the Yankees are my division winner. I don't know what to think of Dominguez. He's kind of – so we started hearing about Juan Soto when he was like 18, and he immediately – he was the World Series. I'm not sure if he won MVP, but he won the World Series when he was 19.
I think he did, didn't he?
He probably did, knowing him. But Jason Dominguez, it's been kind of the same thing. Like, we've been hearing about this guy since he was that young. But where Soto immediately rose to superstar, Dominguez is just, whether it's been he's injured or where he just sucks, like he hasn't been able to take that next step. So I don't know if I love him being an everyday player, at least not right now. You mentioned Bellinger and Goldschmidt coming off. Not so, I guess Bellinger kind of had a bounce back last year, but like they're older.
Like Bellinger and Goldschmidt are your Soto replacements. That's kind of what they're looking at.
Exactly. Like you lose a guy like Soto, it's not easy to replace. Like unless you're going to bring in a Harper, you know what I mean? So you're not really able to replace him. How do you replace him? Pretty good to above average players, in Paul Goldschmidt, Cody Bellinger. You get you get the depth, right? And you hope that somebody works. I feel
Let's
like
be honest.
I feel like that's like the name of their game. What they did, they just added some depth, and they're just going to see what happens. I heard Aaron Boone talking. You mentioned the leadoff spot. He was saying that there's like 5 or 6 guys that he's considering for the leadoff spot right now.
Yeah, and Volpe, I believe, had the most atop the lineup. He started 76 games last year at the top of the Yankees batting order. So the most experienced guy. I know there's been talks of Aaron Judge doing it. DJ LeMahieu, I think, has experience atop the lineup. I'm not quite sure. Jazz Chisholm is there. Can he be a leadoff guy? I don't know. I mean, there's definitely some plug and place guys. I think the ultimate thing is they have guys that can do it. They have guys experienced, but I don't think they necessarily have like the natural leadoff style guy, which is maybe where they have to do some plug and play.
Yeah, well, the unfortunate thing is LeMahieu was that guy for them when he was leading the league in average. What was that, like 2 or 3 years ago? I think.
Yeah,
seems like a decade ago.
It seems
yeah,
like
it does seem
forever
a
ago,
while
but
ago.
he was hitting leadoff for them, and like
Yeah.
debatably, Yankee fans were looking forward to those at bats more than the Aaron Judge at bats at the time, just because this dude was on base hitting a single, double, whatever, every single at bat. It was pretty incredible. I mean, he led the league with a pretty astounding average that year, and then it's just come crashing down since. So if he can bounce back, I think he would be the shoe-in to be in the one spot, but it doesn't seem like anybody has the confidence that that's going to happen.
No, I think it's age and injuries for LeMahieu is why we've seen a pretty big drop off. For me, it's Volpe. Again, Brian said Dominguez. I don't know if he's ready to be that everyday guy, especially at the top of a premier lineup in a tough market. I don't know that Dominguez can be the guy. Volpe, the most experienced doing it, already has the playoff experience, already a fan favorite.
Yeah.
Volpe seems like the guy to keep atop that lineup, unless he wanted to have Judge lead off, but. I think it's better to put Volpe there.
Yeah, Boone. Yeah. For what it's worth, Boone was also saying that Judge likes to be in the 3 spot, so we'll see where he goes.
I like Volpe in the leadoff spot. I was more saying Dominguez is going to have to play every day. I don't think he'll hit leadoff, but with their construction, he's probably their DH.
Well, no, Giancarlo is going to be the DH. They'll throw
He's
Dominguez.
got 2 bad elbows. He might not be ready.
Okay. He might not be ready. I think ideally,
though,
Giancarlo DHs and Dominguez you can throw in left field.
Yeah, which again,
and then you can go Bellinger in center, Judge in right, and that's I think your ideal outfield, though.
Yeah, it's probably and if Dominguez can hit, that's a pretty this is my division winner. I think the Yankees are going to win the division. Yeah. I'll continue to say this though, that I just don't think.
The other problem is LeMahieu going to be your everyday third baseman?
Probably. They don't have a
Which isn't great. Like, trotting him out there as an everyday third baseman. We talked about the importance. I mean, if Devers is the worst, how far behind or ahead is LeMahieu?
Their infield has a lot of question marks. You got 40-year-old Paul Goldschmidt. Volpe,
he's going to play first. I mean, you can get away with that at first base. But you're right, 40 years old.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but errors were a problem for them in the playoffs this past year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would probably be an understatement. They completely blew up in that Dodgers game.
And is Volpe as fundamentally sound at shortstop and playing defense as maybe people thought he might have been?
I think he's average.
Average, okay, but he's not this world class elite. He's not. Yeah, he's not this elite shortstop. So. The lineup should put up runs, and you want to say, Red Sox is the sandbox up in Fenway. I think Yankee Stadium is the ultimate sandbox stadium. Yeah. But we can jump to the rotation, and I think the rotation is really good. Garrett Cole, your premier elite top front end. If he's on, he's on. One of the best pitchers in baseball. They go out and get a guy, Max Fried, from the Atlanta Braves, who had a decent year, an okay year, right behind Chris Sale. I think he might have battled some injuries, but Fried as a lefty in the 2-hole doesn't have to be the premier guy. I think he'll be fine. Carlos Rodon, question mark. Had a better year than his first year with the Yankees, but I'm not sold on what he's done. He's had some blow-up starts, and he's gotten, shook it around a little bit, had some ball control with walks. I think a question mark at the 3 hole. Luis Gill coming off Rookie of the Year. Was he the Rookie of the Year? He's coming off at least being in the mix of it. And then Clark Schmidt, who I think was a bullpen guy, and now maybe they're trying to implement as a fifth starter, and Marcus Stroman, who is refusing to go to the bullpen. So that's kind of where their rotation stands as we speak. I think the shoo-ins are Garrett Cole, Max Fried. That's your 1-2. Carlos Rodon is by default going to be your 3. Maybe Luis Gill, if he does what he did last year, is like an interchange between Rodon and Luis Gill. And Schmidt and Stroman are, if Schmidt's pitching way better than Stroman and Stroman's refusing to pitch out of the bullpen, what the hell do you do there?
Stroman's going to be traded or cut. There's no way they're going to deal with him anymore. And he is just – I'm not going to go into it because he'll probably find this podcast and then try to cancel me because that's the type of guy he is. But
that's your boy, man, ex-Met.
Yeah, it's the Marcus Stroman cycle of life with a new fan base. He gets somewhere, he makes you fall in love with them, and then he trashes the fans, he trashes the team, and he asks for a trade or he gets cut. But again, Cole and Fried are great. Gill, if he can return, like you said, to last year, he'll be good. It's a good rotation, but when you look at it stacked up against the NL, I just don't think it's that good. But it's good enough to win this division and probably win this league.
Who was their closer in the World Series last year?
They kind of went through a couple iterations. Clay Holmes went out there for a couple games.
Clay Holmes was there. They had the Luke Weaver guy.
I think Weaver took game 1 and gave up a run or something.
Yeah, Weaver was there. I'm not sure. They have another guy I thought was like, a shoe-in trust guy that you can, look at it and be like, oh, yeah, that guy. I'm just forgetting his name. Is Tommy Canley still there?
Kale.
Oh, yeah. And they traded the Brewers for Devin Williams.
Yeah, no, so that's what they have now.
Who's the top closer in baseball, as some say.
Unless he's pitching to Pete Alonso.
But yeah, Devin Williams, that guy had I think 2.95 ERA last year and was very electric, 31 saves. So, it's going to be Luke Weaver's going to be their setup and Williams is going to be their closer at the back end of that bullpen. And then, Tim Hill, he's there. Mark Leiter Jr. is a guy who can eat up innings if they need him to. That's kind of where they sit. Jonathan Lasaiga is there. Devin Williams is going to be a premier. The Yankees pitching staff, they're going to be good this year.
Yeah, it's a good team. I think the Yankees win this division.
I think they're my division winner as well. Let's jump over to the Tampa Bay Rays here, who always seem to be competitive. Looking at this lineup, though, I just don't know how they will be. I'm sure they'll find a way, but, I don't know how you're going to mix and match these guys. Yandy Diaz, who seems to be a hit for average. Brandon Lowe, Junior Caminero, who we saw in the Mexican League, I think, doing some crazy stuff.
At the walk-off.
Hit the walk-off and had like a 45-minute round the bases ordeal. Josh Lowe will be out there. Christopher Morel, maybe the 5 or 6 hole guy, doesn't, the average fell off. Big home run threat, but the average fell off. Jonathan Aranda, who? Never heard of that guy before in my life. Danny Jansen, coming over from Toronto, stays in the division. Johnny DeLuca and Taylor Walls is probably what their roster is going to look like this year. It screams average. It screams potential 4th or 5th place finish, and it's in a strong AL East. Again, they always find a way to stay competitive, but I think this is the year where you possibly see a huge fall off.
Yeah, the Rays have always been an underprivileged, scrappy organization. I have a feeling this year will be no different.
Yeah, and again, Jose Siri, who I guess was a big premier guy for them, up with the New York Mets now. They did add Ha-Seong Kim from the Padres, but I don't know if that's a guy that moves the needle for me.
No, Nick has him at 81 and 81. I think that's pretty accurate. I might give him like 83 or 84 wins just because their pitching is still good. And
I really think this is a below 500 team. But again, the rest of the AL isn't great. So I think you're right, Brian, with the Shane McClanahan leading the charge out of that bullpen or out of that starting rotation. Here they have Shane Baz as the fourth guy. I think he's like the 2 or 3. Drew Rasmussen will be in the mix. Ryan Pepiot over from, I think he was on the Dodgers, right? So he comes in to the Rays rotation. And then Taj Bradley, who, up and down in AAA last year, had some bright spots, had some weak spots. I mean, got rocked a little bit, but had some outings where he looked like a guy who belongs in the league. Zach Littell pitched really well for the Rays down the stretch. So again, tough to kind of predict where things are going to shake up and shake out. I think the one lock for the Rays rotation is Shane McClanahan as the opening day starter.
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking, I think Junior C, Caminero, whatever. I'm sure I'll learn it once the season gets underway here. He's gonna have a big year, and I think it'll be enough, like a Randy Arozarena type, lead that offense to just mediocrity. And we'll be sitting here with 2 weeks to go in the season, and we'll be like, well, if the Rays can win 7 out of the last 8 and Boston loses 5 out of the last 6, then the Rays will sneak into the
then they sneak in. Yeah, and again, it's like there's no pressure, right? I've been to Rays games at a division game on a weekend, and it's like night and day. You go to like a Phillies Nationals, Phillies Mets, Phillies Braves game on the weekend at Citizens Bank Park. That place is rocking. I was there on a Saturday down in Tampa. They played the Blue Jays. And it was just like a social event. Nobody really gave a shit. There was empty seats. I mean, it's a night and day difference coming from a northeast sports town and go down to it's like vacation. So no pressure. Maybe they play into that and do really well. But yeah, I don't think they're going to be a threat.
No pressure and no roof. Are they
no
playing
roof.
games in the Trop?
I think they're going to try and fix the roof. If they actually do it or not, that's a completely different story. But I think they're trying to. You can't play outside down there, man. I mean, you can't play a middle of the day game. It's too hot.
Yeah.
Let's jump up here to the Orioles, though. We talked about, we touched on them last week in the last week's show. I'm not sold on their rotation. I think there's massive question marks. I think they could have re-signed a Corbin Burns. They could have went out and got a Garrett Crochet. I think would have really solidified, what they have on offense. But we can jump through the rotation. Zach Eflin, okay, is he your opening day starter? Or like, it's got to be out. Like, who is it?
I think you hate on Zach Eflin because of his time with the Phillies. He has turned into a very solid pitcher. Now, an ace is maybe a stretch, but he is a good frontline starter.
Opening day?
No, he's probably fits in on a great rotation. He's probably a low end 2, high end 3, but he's still a good pitcher.
Well, he's probably going to open the year as their opening day starter. Grayson Rodriguez. Okay. I mean, he's a young kid, has some elite stuff, but we'll wait and see with him. I don't think you can say he's a proven elite front end guy yet. Charlie Morton's 40 years old. I don't know what you're going to get from him. I really don't. The guy's been around the league and then some. Dean Kremer and Tomoyuki Sagano, who we have no idea what Sagano is going to do. Dean Kremer is a solid back end of the rotation guy at best. And again, you have no idea what you're getting from Charlie Morton. So I think this rotation has massive question marks in a year where, you did they win the AL East last year?
They were ahead for the whole year, and then at the end,
and then choked it. But the year before they won it, right?
Maybe it might have been.
Either way, this team has like
2023. They surged at the end, and they came up just short.
Okay, so either way, they were always there at the end. They have the bats to do it. We'll go through their lineup in a second. But this was their year to go out and grab a front end of the rotation guy, Crochet, Corbin Burns. Hell, why not both? This is your time to win with the talent you have. They didn't do it. And, to Brian's point, they're rolling the dice with Zach Eflin, who maybe I'm a little biased because he didn't work out with the Phils. But is he an opening day guy? Not for me.
Yeah, a couple things on the rotation. First one, on this show, we often call guys 40 years old to exaggerate their age. Charlie Morton is actually 40 years old. So that is
I wasn't exaggerating.
But I think I'm higher on Grayson Rodriguez than you are. I think he can turn into that ace as soon as this season. Big issue though with Orioles ownership causing not to spend this offseason and probably not for the near future. I think we're gonna get that same old rhetoric I used to get from the Mets every year. We had an injured guy coming before the trade deadline, and they're Kyle Bradish, when he comes back from injury, is going to be their big acquisition of the offseason. Like that'll be their big move, is getting a guy already on the roster
It's
back
just
from injury.
yeah, and that's the guy. Cade Povich and Trevor Rogers are the left-handers in the rotation mix as well. So, Trevor Rogers, what was that, 2 years ago or 3 years
It's,
ago? He had like an elite year.
it's like 3 years ago, and then he struggled the last two, and they traded for him
Yeah.
at the deadline last year, and he was in
And he,
AAA within like three starts.
yeah, so again, he'll be in the mix. That's about as best that I could see. But, I, you know, if the rotation can hold up, they have the offense to win them games, and I think that's what they're going to lean on here. They kind of have a lot of ways they can mix and match this lineup, I think. But we'll go through it here. Gunnar Henderson, is he your leadoff guy? I don't know, but an elite player. I think he's a proven elite player. Jordan Westberg, possibly at third base. Not sure. Again, we'll see. I think he was pretty strong last year for them, so he's probably got the third base job locked up. Again, they lost Santander to the Blue Jays. We'll get into them in just a second. Your superstar, Adley Rutschman, switch hitting, elite catcher, can get it done behind the plate on defense and can hit for power and average. So Adley Rutschman, I think, will slot in the three spot, seems good. Now, where do you go in the fourth spot, right? You have Colton Cowser or Tyler O'Neill, who Brian wants to talk about big addition. That was their big addition that they spent money on, was Tyler O'Neill. So we'll see what happens there. Ryan O'Hearn hits for power. I don't know that the average follows. Ryan Mountcastle, Brian talked about, I forget who he said, being an elite superstar or breakout year up and coming. I think he did better last year, but again, still some question marks about what he'll be this year. Jackson Holiday, your biggest question mark. He could be elite. He could be a superstar. Is he just too young, though? And then Cedric Mullins, who you kind of need to have a bounce back year. Again, you can mix and match that lineup a lot of different ways, but there's a lot of guys who can play good baseball and hit the ball well.
I think the best version of this lineup is going to have Jackson Holiday hitting leadoff, and that's going to require him to really become a major league player, followed by honorary Auburn Tiger, Gunnar Henderson, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
With Rutschman, and then you're hoping Kobe Mayo can take over that third base job. He's one of their top prospects.
It's not going to be to start the year, though, I don't think.
No, it won't be. Unless he has just a torrid hot spring training.
Right.
I mean,
as much as we're trying to predict the lineup right now, I still feel capable. I still feel like the Orioles are capable with their offense. I think it's all about that first I guess topic we were talking about for them that Matt was talking about. Like they're pitching. I mean, that's what they lacked last year. That's what they've been lacking. That's why they've lost their last 10 postseason games. Is because pitching actually matters when it comes to playoff time. And I feel like they just haven't made any moves. Like I'm mad for Orioles fans right now. Like
that's exactly what's going to happen, though. The way you're saying,
like they didn't make any moves to bolster their pitching and the rotation. And when it comes to the postseason again, because they'll get there with the offense that they have, but when they get there, what's that going to look like? Another winless postseason for them.
Even if they get to the division series, it's Orioles Yankees. Okay, Garrett Culver, Zach Eflin in game one. You're going with the Yankees in that game, so they're I think it's perfectly said, Jack. They might be able to get by during the season. There's so many games with this rotation, but game one in the playoffs, it's best on best. Your ace versus my ace. And if you're telling me Zach Eflin or maybe Grayson Rodriguez because of the year he could potentially have, I'm not buying it.
I think, and I know hope is not a strategy, and Major League Baseball teams should not employ hope as a strategy. But the hope of the Orioles front office is Grayson Rodriguez and Kyle Bradish are your 1-2 in the postseason. And that's, I'm thinking above average 1-2. It's not better than the Yankees 1-2. It's probably not better than the Red Sox 1-2. And it's probably not even better than the Royals 1-2 with Seth Lugo and Cole Reagans. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I just don't know with them. But then you could also, with that lineup, like Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, and if you really want to go on a limb, Jackson Holiday could all finish top 10 in MVP voting. Like they could. And the first two of those are very, very possible. Jackson Holiday is, of course, you're going to need him to figure it out. But he was the number one prospect in baseball just a year ago.
Well, I was going to
Yeah,
say
and they
this.
brought him up super young as well. So again, give the guy time.
Yeah, I'm not hating on him at all. I'm just saying I feel like this is the exact same position that they were in last year heading into the season. Like very young team, very promising team, very offensive minded team, no pitching. And then, they make it to the playoffs because they win 90 plus games. They make it to the playoffs and they don't win a single game in the playoffs.
It's again, the hope is bounce back from Adley Rutschman, who started off great last year and then was terrible in the second half. You hope you get Jackson Holiday good. You hope you bring up Kobe Mayo or another one of these prospects and they're good. And you hope Kyle Bradish and Grayson Rodriguez can become aces. It's a lot of hoping.
Yeah, they're going to need to make a move before the trade deadline. Bring in a real pitcher.
Yep. Yeah, and like Brian said, hope is not the best option to deploy, on the horizon of a new season. But do we wrap it up here with the Blue Jays, or did I miss a team? I think we wrap it up with the Blue Jays here. Another year for a team that has a lot of expectations to possibly fraud out per usual. I mean, this team has had win the AL East the last 3 or 4, however many years, and I think they have the talent to do it, but they just haven't been able to get it all together. I really don't know what their issue is. I think injuries have hurt them throughout the year, but again, we can go through the potential lineup. George Springer, probably the leadoff guy. I'm not quite sure. Bo Bichette is there as well. Maybe he'll lead off. Vladdy Jr., who is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. having some contract issues, said he set a deadline for as early as I think on Monday, not to leave the team, but if they don't have a deal set out, he's going to test free agency next year. So if I'm the Blue Jays, I'm doing anything to wrap that guy up. Apparently, they're still very far apart from where Vladdy wants to be and where the Blue Jays want to be. New addition up.
Yep. Welcome to New York in 2026, Vladdy Jr.
Possibly. I don't know if when Pete Alonso's done, maybe if they get the deal done, the Blue Jays have to lock him up. But yeah, coming up from Baltimore, Anthony Santander, who had an explosive year for the Orioles last year. Again, switch hitting, borderline superstar. We'll see if he can do it again, which is why I'll pump the brakes on superstar. Should be right there in the heart of the lineup. Alejandro Kirk, everyone's favorite midget. Will Wagner, we'll see what he can do. Dalton Varshaw, we'll see what he can do. Andres Jimenez from the Guardians, I think at the bottom of that lineup can be really, really good. And then, Ernie Clement, is he the guy who locks down the third base spot? Yeah, I don't know if that's what their lineup's going to be. I think the bottom is still very questionable, but I think with Springer, Bichette, Guerrero Jr., Santander, and Alejandro Kirk, again, with Danny Jansen already gone, Kirk's going to see a lot more everyday game time, and that's probably their 1 through 5 and, some mix and match for the bottom of the lineup.
Nick has this team with 78 wins. I think they're going to end up around 70, and we're going to see a bounce back season from Bo Bichette, but he's not going to be on the team after the trade deadline.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And what a down year he had here, man. I mean, this was a guy who was batting over 300. He was like under 250, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think
I don't know where he was,
220,
but
he also only played in like 70 games. He was hurt for a lot of the year.
Yeah, you don't know what you're going to get with George Springer. It feels like he kind of took a step back ever since leaving Houston.
Yeah, he's also been like injury issues. And I know Santander had a big year last year, but that was his first like big year, and they just handed him a 5-year deal.
Yeah. So you have no idea what he's going to do this year. We can go to the rotation. Who is their opening day starter? Jose Barrios or Kevin Gausman? Barrios is coming off the better year, I think, and Barrios, got rocked a little bit 2 years ago, and then he came back really, really strong last year and pitched really well for them.
Yeah, I think he started throwing a two-seamer. His four-seamer is the straightest fastball I have ever seen. It is legitimate batting practice. And Gosman's kind of the complete opposite, where he'll just throw you the kitchen sink, well, like Steve Traxel used to do. But like Steve Traxel, he's just not that good. He just had a lot of pitches.
Which Gosman was really good for the Giants, if we remember that year when they won 108 games that they weren't supposed to win. But Gosman came to the Blue Jays, again, had one really good year, was supposed to be the premier starter. And, I mean, he's okay. He's just, I don't think what they signed him to be, and that's a premier guy.
I don't think this team is that good.
No, and we can wrap up the rotation here. Chris Bassett, Guy Bowden Francis, and Brian's old friend Max Scherzer.
And Chris Bassett.
And Chris Bassett, but Brian's old friend Max Scherzer is projected, to slot into the back end of this rotation, which, look, a 42-year-old or 40-year-old Max Scherzer to go against other teams' fourth and fifth starters, maybe you have something there?
Yeah.
10 starts.
You know what that reminds me of? And a little bit better, but, I also heard, who was it? Chapman, Aroldis Chapman. He's with the Red Sox now. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, he was an early domino to fall, and you would not think Aroldis Chapman would be one of the first free agents to be signed.
Well, he had an elite year with the Royals last year, and I think that's why.
Was he elite last year?
He was pretty elite.
Seems like he goes at this point in his career, he has a great year followed by just a terrible year where he's on 5 teams, and you're like, how did Chapman get here? And
I think what it was is
he was on the Pirates.
He was on the Pirates and then got traded at the deadline. Is I think how that
he imploded against the Mets in a game.
Yeah, maybe it was just
was he the Royals the year before? Maybe.
Yeah, the year before it was the Royals, and then he went to the Rangers. I don't know how that worked out. I thought he was on the. I thought he
got a ring.
I think so. Yeah.
Look at Aroldis.
Yeah, because he was on the Royals, had a 2.45 ERA, got traded at the deadline, and then went to Texas. Had a 3.72 ERA, so a little bit worse, but he did get the ring.
Wow.
But yeah, anyway, the moral of the story is the Red Sox probably aren't going to win this division, and I think the Blue Jays don't really have a shot to win this division as well. And it just sucks because decent lineups, decent rotations. It's just too much talent in the division.
I forgot about Bowden Francis. Shout out Bowden Francis. 28 years old, just decided to have a career year last year. What, took 2-3 no-hitters in the 9th inning?
I honestly thought he threw one.
No, I think he lost. He lost one with 2 outs. He lost one in the first at-bat of the 9th inning when Lindor took him yard against in that game. That started a run for the Mets. And I think he had one other one, too.
Yeah, I mean, look, if he's a guy who's going to, anchor that rotation, I think that's a great guy to have. Now, the front of the rotation, let's hope that they can steer the ship from sinking.
They're not going to be any good.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. I think all of us are pretty much in agreement that our prediction is the New York Yankees to come out of this AL East division as, victorious.
Yeah, I think so. Nick has it: Red Sox, Yankees, Orioles, Rays, Blue Jays. I would just flip the Red Sox. Well, no, actually, I'd go Yankees 1, Orioles 2, put Red Sox at 3, and then Rays, Blue Jays. So pretty close.
I would
close.
I would do the same thing you would do, Brian. I would slot the Sox in at 3, although I do think there's a chance. I don't think Nick's crazy with saying that they could win the division. I think there's a chance they could do it.
No, I think the difference between 1 and 3 is going to be 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, and I want to be different and put the Red Sox at second, but I think it's Yankees, Orioles, Red Sox, and then interchange Rays and Blue Jays. I don't care. It's not going to be close.
I'm just putting the Rays at 4 because at least lately they've been a much better run organization. I trust them to win games.
Yeah, they're a little more scrappy.
They definitely are, but I think that wraps us up here. A little bit of a longer show. I know we said it might be a shorter show, but we drag it on for good reason. It's a good show. That's all I have for this one. If you watch Daytona 500, I didn't give out the right pick, but I did have William Byron, so I won't give out the long shot. But this week at Atlanta, I'm going with Ryan Blaney to win the number 12 car, plus 900 or plus 1,000. Ryan Blaney in Atlanta. That's my NASCAR pick of the week. We don't do a segment, but at least you get a pick. I'm Matt. It's Views from Section 400. I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Who was trying to hack my underdog account?
Go Auburn.